to Booking the Wrestler AEW Edition number 3. I've been thinking about this. This is about Eddie Kingston, and I will be booking him very differently compared to AEW's booking, because they had a great idea in the very beginning, and it basically dropped on his face. Now, mind you, as one of my own subscribers has said, maybe later they will pick it back up with CM Punk and Eddie Kingston. But, to be honest, knowing how AEW is booking CM Punk right now, he's going through the roster, going from one person to another, doing brief feuds. So I just don't see the booking actually happening this year. And to be honest, I don't think they're going to go back to it again. I don't believe so. I could be wrong, though. And maybe they will give Eddie Kingston the moment with CM Punk where he's recognized as I'm going to book him. But as it stands right now, Eddie Kingston's working with Garcia in 2.0, at least at the moment. So, and possibly Chris Jericho. So I'm booking it as I would do it. So if you don't like it, tell me how you feel below about how you would book it. But this is my booking. Now, the way I'm going to book it is as it's already been going from the last match that CM Punk had, which was Eddie Kingston. That match is what is going to be the catalyst for this, and there will be an extra person added into AEW that will make it even more substantial. Now, the story that's already been told between CM Punk and Eddie Kingston will be continued. CM Punk and Eddie Kingston met in ROH, along with Bryan Danielson, along with Samoa Joe, and that really good promo segment they both had together is the one that is going to be used here. But here's what the difference is. CM Punk, at this juncture, has been shown as a face. He's not going to be a face. He's going to be a heel. An attitude-y heel that makes it very clear that Eddie Kingston never amounted anything, that he never truly fulfilled his total potential. And he basically continues that as a bit of a heel. Let's be honest, he's way better as a heel than he is a face any day. So they have the match, and Eddie Kingston loses, but he does get it rubbed in his face a lot more than you expect. Really couldn't stand getting his face rubbed into it, because that very match, after it was over, CM Punk gets on the mic and he says, "You see, I don't even need to do anything more than what I've done. You've proven that you never amounted to anything. You're a bum. Period." And Eddie Kingston is just frustrated beyond fuck. He can't stand it. Now the next Dynamite is where the insertion of the next person is. And this is Bryan Danielson. Now this isn't a person that's coming into the company, because there's someone extra that needs to be brought into the company to make this work properly. But at this moment, Bryan Danielson tunes in on this, because at that point, he's not a heel like he is with Adam Page. In my story, he's still a face. And he goes to Eddie. And he says, Eddie, look at me. Because he is so frustrated. He's breaking chairs. He's breaking furniture. And Bryan Danielson passes him by. But he stops and says, Eddie, what are you doing? Look at me. You know me for years. We may not talk all the time, particularly with the company I went. But I know you. You did have a strong potential to be an incredible wrestler. But you've always had that problem with your anger and your attitude. Now, I understand. You got mental problems. You said it yourself. You got to take a pill to keep yourself calm. When we had our match, and that's also part of the storyline, you said it yourself. You had to take a pill every day to make sure you don't try and kill anybody. And I'm actually proud of you for doing it. But come on, man. You need to get it straight. You need to be more focused and controlled. Yes, it's not easy being you. But if you don't, you'll never amount to anything. And he walks away. And that next week after that is when Samoa Joe comes in. Yes, I'm putting him in the storyline because we already know that Samoa Joe is not doing anything on NXT TV. He relinquished the title. He has not been seen since. It's a possibility that this is real life. This is not the storyline, guys. In real life, keeping him off TV until his contract's expired. Now, mind you, we still don't know what's going on with Joe. Either he's injured or they told him to stay off of WWE TV, which is NXT, and wait until your contract expires. It's hard to tell. I don't know which one it is. But we do believe that if he's released from WWE or his contract is expired and he leaves within 90 days, I believe, because he was released. I don't think he got a new contract for 90 days. It was NXT, so it could be 30 days. He will probably show up on AEW TV. Yes, I know people are going to want him on Impact Wrestling, and that's also a possibility. But there's a very strong chance he will go with Bryan Danielson and CM Punk because he is an ROH original. He is. There's no way you can deny that. But in this storyline, he shows up on AEW Rampage. He doesn't show up on Dynamite. It is rumored that someone new is showing up on Rampage. No one knows who it is. And then he shows up using his old original Impact Wrestling song. The song that we know Samoa Joe by and loved by Samoa Joe, and Impact Wrestling didn't prevent him from using that music. It's the music we hear on AEW television. Everyone is shocked to see Samoa Joe. He comes to the ring and he simply says, "Welcome. I see so much." Now you're wondering why I'm saying welcome to you when you're welcoming me. Well, guess what? I welcome you back into my heart, AEW, the fans, because true pro wrestling is here. I welcome true pro wrestling. I welcome real fans of pro wrestling. I welcome the faithful of ROH in my heart again. And even though it is now, and I'm going by real life, ROH had to shut down due to problems. As an original, I'm home. I am here. And just to make it interesting, we get MJF coming out. In this storyline, MJF is not dealing with CM Punk. He comes out and he gets an attitude and says, "Why do we have another old damn WWE guy coming into a damn company? Who the hell do you think you are? Get the hell out of my house and get the hell out of my ring." And as he's speaking, he's by himself. No Warlow, no Sean Spears, no FTR, no Tully Blanchard. Two guys come up behind him that he didn't think anybody would be there. And it is Bryan Danielson and it's Samoa Joe. No, not Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. I'm not meaning Samoa Joe yet. So Bryan Danielson and CM Punk come out. They put their hands on his shoulder. They both grab him and they both suplex his ass on the damn ramp. Flat out. They suplex him. And then they walk to the ring. They walk up to Samoa Joe. And they both look at him. He looks at them. They smile and he just hugs them really good. And CM Punk takes the mic and said, "Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the originals of real professional wrestling. Since 2000, we are the ones who made real pro wrestling mean something." And from there, for the next couple of months, Samoa Joe's working with CM Punk and Bryan Danielson in trios matches. He's not doing anything by himself. Not at all. And we don't see Eddie Kingston at all for at least 3 months. He's disappeared. Gone. But eventually, after the 4th month, he does come back. And Samoa Joe sees him. And he walks up to him. And he says, "Hey, where the hell you been? I thought you were working in this damn place." And he looks at him and say, "You got an attitude with me too? You're going to say I'm nothing but shit too? You're going to say I don't have any potential?" And he said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Calm down. I only been here 4 months. Calm your roll. I am not here to fight with you. I just asked where you been. Look, I'm not going to tell you anything other than what you already know. You got to sort this out in here. I'm not telling you that you don't have potential or that you never fulfilled your potential. This is about who you are. Do I tell you who you are?" And he says, "What about your friends? They told me who I am." He says, "Yeah, they told you who you are because of what you show." Eddie, I've known you for years. Me and you ain't perfect friends. We never have been. But I've always been straight with you. And when it comes down to it, what we see is what we get. This isn't what we're telling you because we want to fuck you over. This is what we're telling you because it's what you're showing us. Show us something other than what you're showing. Because the other two, they got their rights. They earned their right to say whatever the hell they are. And Eddie says, really, I can say it with you. I even can say it with Brian. But Punk going away for 7 years and doing shit? He has no right to say it. He says, yes, he does. Because no matter whatever he did, getting his ass beat up in MMA, doing comic books, going to Comic-Con, doing all his mess, you know how he is. But it's not the point that he went away from wrestling and then came back. It's the point that he earned it. He fulfilled his potential. He had the right to go away and come back. Bryan Danielson got his neck snapped. Had to go away and he managed to come back. Myself, how many injuries have I gotten my sorry ass? I have gone away and I came back. Where have you been? He said, I've been all this way, partner. I've never gone nowhere. He says, yeah, but what have you done? Where have you been? You've been here all the time while we've been in and out, but we earned what we got. You've shown us the same thing. Eddie, I'm not against you. None of us are. Even if we're showing you an attitude, we just know that you should show more. And pretty much Bryan Danielson came up behind him and smacked him behind the head, and then they start brawling. Because pretty much since Eddie opened his mouth and said something about CM Punk and Bryan Danielson, he didn't want to hear it. So they have a brawl. Then Tony Khan made a match between him and Bryan Danielson, which was canceled due to the fact that Bryan Danielson got attacked by MJF because MJF decided to have a feud with Bryan Danielson. And Eddie Kingston get mad at MJF, says, why are you messing with him? He's mine. He says, he ain't yours. You can't do a damn thing. I heard what they've been saying. And you know what? They're right. You got nothing, you sorry ass bum. And then he beats up on MJF. And he makes it very clear. He asks Tony, look, Tony is in the picture this time. He actually is shown on TV. It's very rare. But he goes to him and say, Tony, you gave me a shot to come in this company. I thank you. I love you for that. When no one else wanted to give me something, give me a real platform, you gave me one. But I ask you, let me face MJF before he faces Bryan. Let me prove that I am more than just having potential. And Tony Khan says this. He says, when I saw you having that match against Cody, and against Moxley, and against Lance Archer, I knew you had something in you. I've heard the same thing they had, saying you had great potential, but you never got anywhere. I gave you this because I know you can't fulfill that potential. But I'm going to be honest here. Bryan has the right to go up against MJF. He's got to deal with him first. I'm sorry, you can't do that. But I'm going to give you something that you need. And he says, what? What, partner? He says, simple. Redemption. Right now, you want to show Punk, Bryan, and Joe that you have reached your potential. You want to show it? There's one way to prove it. I'm going to give you a chance to go up against the Pinnacle. All the members. Go up against Wheeler, go up against Hardwood, go up against Warlow, go up against Spears, and then go up against MJF. I'm going to give you that chance to go up at each individual one. To give you a chance that you can get to MJF and then get to Bryan, because he will be the next one. If you can go through all of them first, not only will you show the Pinnacle that they can get the book whooped by a true professional wrestler who started his heart, his soul, and his wrestling career in ROH, because they still say ROH is crap. But this will give you a chance to prove to the others as you go through them, because if you beat Bryan, I'll let you go up against Joe. And if you beat Joe, the final person you go up against will be Punk. because he already beat you once 5 months ago. This is your chance to get it back. You got to go through everybody to get this shot. And he looked at him and said, I got to go through all that damn gauntlet shit? He says, yes. And he puts his hand on his shoulder. He says, Eddie, look, I gave you the shot here because I concede everything they say, but not because it's the future. It's now, Eddie. You know I won't lie to you. You know I have been in your corner. Whenever you have a problem, you walk to me and I stop everything for you. You're my friend, Eddie. Literally, since the day you came in the company, when you first showed yourself, when I walked up to you and we talked, we hit it off like that, didn't we? And he says, yeah, I think of you as a really good friend. And he says, yes. Then as your friend who knows you already fulfilled your potential, prove it to them. Show them what I already see. That's why you're here in AEW, because you have fulfilled your potential and you are a main eventer. You can do it. Show them. Show them all that you have fulfilled your potential. Go through the pinnacle. Every last member, one at a time, and I will make sure that none of them can interfere with any of the matches. They can't be there or they will be suspended. You have to go through each and every member. And that's what he does. He goes through Cash Wheeler first. And he beats him. It was not an easy win. He had to struggle, but he does beat him. Then he goes through Hardwood. Now there, unfortunately, he did lose, but it was because of outside interference, and Tony suspended Telly for 2 months for what he did. But due to the fact that he had won, it was obvious he put him to sleep, that the ref was distracted, and that Hardwood was unconscious. Even after it was over, even though he lost, it was made official by Tony Khan himself that yes, he lost the match, but it was outside interference. It will still be recognized, but it is obvious you did win. And yes, wins and losses do matter in my company, but still you beat him. He spoke to him about it. So the next person he goes up against is Shawn Spears. Well, this is very interesting. Shawn Spears did make definitely sure he won his stipulation in this match. And it was a tables match. So Eddie had to go for a tables match and put Shawn Spears through a table. And in this situation where he had to face him, instead of just going crazy after him and willing to throw his body at him, Eddie decided to change up his style. He decided, instead of doing a heavy hardcore style or his normal Japanese style, he decided to do a bit technical. He decided to be methodical and actually took out the legs of Shawn Spears. He literally messed his leg up enough that he could not walk. His tactic was to basically make him crippled enough that he could throw him through the table from the top turn rope, which worked. Then he went up against Wardlow. And again, he decides to be methodical. He decides in this situation, and Eddie's always been, in real life, Eddie has been when he wants to be methodical and careful. He's not having an attitude. He's not having the New York attitude, as you all know, the New York attitude, the New York attitude. He's not doing it. There's no attitude with Eddie. He's doing pure wrestling. He's staying focused and controlled, and he basically put to sleep a Shawn Spears. He is out, flat out, unconscious, and he wins the match. Finally, he faces MJF, and MJF and him have a very interesting promo segment. And he says, well, and this is MJF, well, what do I have here? The potential bum is in front of me. What do we actually have in front of us, ladies and gentlemen? A guy who had potential more than almost 20 years ago. Going into ROH, which is gone. If you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, he is a huge byproduct of one of the greatest wrestling companies that now is gone. But I'll give him his props. He's lasted this long without breaking his own neck. But you don't face me. and think you're just going to be able to be rough with me. I am a real wrestler unlike you. And he says, I'm going to stop you there, partner. I am a real wrestler. And ROH is the place that made true pro wrestlers. Like Punk, like Brian, like Joe. Don't you dare say nothing about ROH. Don't you dare say nothing about me. They got their points in what I said. They got their points in what I've done. And no matter how much I hate them or not, they got the rights to say that I've never reached my potential, even though I know now I have. But you have no right to say a damn thing, because what have you done in your 24-year-old life? Love Rosie O'Donnell? Want to jerk off to her in your room? Sing in front of her and then jerk off at the back of that stage, and she sees you and say, hey baby, try it again, I liked it. He got really nasty about it. He says simply, when you face me, you're going to see a true professional wrestler. And they do have their match at a pay-per-view. And he beats MJF by putting him to sleep. Wiped him out unconscious. Putting him in an anaconda vice. Well, not anaconda vice per se, but he puts him into a hole that wipes him out asleep. Finally, he's going after the top three now. First, he goes after Bryan Danielson. And Bryan Danielson says, it's time. Let's see if you reached your point. Have you actually grown since I got into this company? And he looks at him and say, you know, partner, I know me and you, we have always been friends. But I'm going to prove this to you right now. There's not going to be no anger, no hate, no nothing. This is wrestling. I'm going to wrestle you. And I'm going to beat you. Whether I'm putting your ass to sleep or I'm going to pin you on the mat. You will be beat. Period. No hate. No one to pound your head in the parking lot. Nothing. I'm going to beat you. And they have their match. Now, Eddie did not put Bryan Danielson to sleep. He cannot do it because he's too good of a wrestler. But he does manage to beat him. He does. He does manage to beat him. And he doesn't give him any respect, Bryan Danielson. He got beat. He walks out of the ring. Flat out. Then he moves on after 2 weeks to Samoa Joe. Joe says, my friend, we're about to have a match. And this is them on Dynamite, well before the match is in the main event. And he says, my friend, we're about to have a match. And he looks at him and says, I knew you could do this. Whether what happens after this, whether you beat me or not, you proved to me you're good. You know that, right? And Eddie Kingston walks up to him. He sticks his hand out and shook it. And he says, when this is over, if you shake my hand or not after like this, we good. So they go in the ring. It's a 20-minute match. But here's where it gets interesting. In that match, he does not beat Samoa Joe. They draw. They draw. He could not beat him. He couldn't pin him. He couldn't submit him. It was a draw. The time ran out. There is no winner. But Joe, when it's over, walks up to Kingston, helps him up because he's wiped out. And he shakes his hand. And he leaves the ring. Done. So you got one person who didn't want to go near him, lost the match, and walked away. And then you got another person that basically you drawed to, and he was willing to shake his hand and walk away. No hugs, nothing, just shook his hand and walked off. Didn't look at him. And then you finally got CM Punk. And CM Punk is like, wait a minute. How are you getting this match with me? You did not beat Joe. I understand you beat Brian. How are you getting this match? You ain't getting no match from me. And he's being a bit heelish. And he says to him, look, Phil, I know I'm using your government name, brother. I know I'm using him as partner. But come on. Face me one more time. I know I don't need this. Because you don't want to give it to me. But let's have this one more time. I've earned this. Come on, partner. You know I've gone through all of this. I've proven that I've reached my true potential. And I'm not going to lie. You were right. You said when we met almost a year ago that I had not reached my full potential. You know, you're right. You are right. Because I never truly got to the point where I could fully understand myself. I was always angry about something. You're right. I always had an attitude about something. You're right. Maybe it's the damn New Yorker in me. Maybe it's that damn Puerto Rican blood in me. It don't make a difference. I never understood that if I truly want to be who I can be, the maximum of it, I had to be focused and had to understand that you ain't my enemy. You never were. You were just telling me what you were seeing. And I understand that. And I know you're TNT champion because CM Punk at this point is TNT champion. He is the TNT champion right now. And he said, look, I know I drawed Samoa Joe. I know I drawed Joe. I know that I haven't earned it. But let me face you. Let me have this. The year anniversary of our last time we were in the ring together. This is best. I know. You can turn this damn down. You can go to Tony and say, I ain't getting it. Come on, partner. I'm asking you. Haven't I earned it? At least enough to give me a chance to see where I stand. If it's not for the damn title, fine. But give me the shot to know where I stand. Have I reached my full potential in your eyes? Because as much as a lot of times I hate your sorry ass, I still respect you. And he looked at him and he said, you want to face me, it's got to be for the title. But I'm going to go to Tony. I'm going to ask him to give you a match. If you beat that match, if you win against that person, I'll give you your shot. And the person who's next in line to face me is the person that you'll get. If you beat him, and I'll ask Tony if he's willing to do it. If you beat him, then you get his shot. But if you don't beat him, you're getting shit. So, CM Punk went to Tony. And Tony said this. If CM Punk beats, and at this point, it was Darby Allin, the former TNT champion, because he had earned it. He said the only way this will happen if Darby Allin agrees to it, because Darby has earned his right for the chance, for this title. He hasn't lost in almost 5 months. So, Darby was called in. And Eddie was facing Darby. And Darby said, I got nothing to prove. I can have this shot. If I lose to you and I have to wait, I can wait. You want this chance? I'll give it to you. But no, I ain't going to be gentle to your ass. So Darby and Eddie have their match. And it is closing a Rampage. Darby Allin does not win. Eddie does. So now, at All In, Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk for the TNT title at the end of the show. Because it's not the world title that's done, it's the TNT title that closes the show. And as both of them come down to the ring, and Tony Schiavone and Excalibur are saying this is one of the most anticipated matches we had in a year. Now, the second match between these two. Finally, Eddie Kingston is now going up against Punk to prove his true potential and win the TNT title. And as this is going on, and the match starts, we start getting people coming from the back. We start getting faces and heels coming to watch the match. The Pinnacle comes out. The Lucha Brothers come out. The Jurassic Express, the Inner Circle, all the main groups come out. And the two that go in front of them is Joe and Bryan Danielson. They are watching this now. It's supposed to be an hour match. And after about 30 minutes, where both sides have gone up against each other, where CM Punk is using his current style, which is mixed with MMA, but then you got Eddie Kingston, who isn't using Japanese wrestling at this moment. After facing so many people, he's taken little hints from FTR, from a little bit of Warlow, a little bit of MJF. He's taken some of their tactics, some of their techniques, and actually using it in his style. He's actually adjusted his style and using some of what he's learned from the other wrestlers in certain situations of the match to actually get advantage over CM Punk. And at the 45-minute mark, finally, CM Punk is pinned and he wins the TNT title. And CM Punk is shocked that it happened. Eddie legitimately breaks down and cries. He is with his head on the mat and he's crying. He's literally crying. And they zoom in on his mother, who is, well, I don't think his mother in real life is alive right now. I think she might be dead, but I think she's alive. I do believe his real mother's alive. So she's in the audience because it's done in New York. She's there along with some of his relatives, and he's crying in the ring. And they zoom in on her and them. I think his mother's alive, so I'm sorry I said that. But pretty much, everyone is cheering. But Punk gets up. He's leaning up against the top turn rope. And he looks back and he sees Joe and Bryan. He calls them in. And they both walk down to the ring. And all three of them are in the ring. And literally, Punk is in front. You got Bryan to his left. And you got Samoa Joe to his right. And he is standing there. He doesn't have the title in his hand yet, because the ref was not allowed to give it to him. And he's looking at him. Straight to his face. Punk to Eddie. He asks for a mic. He gets and he says this. You are a product of RH. We are a product of RH. We have been champions. And Samoa Joe hands Punk the title. And he says, now you're a champion. He hands it to him. And he says, clearly, I'm proud of you. You have finally found your true potential. He hands it over to Joe, the mic, and he says, brother, you know me for years. I've always said we've never been a problem. But I've always told you what you show is what we see. What I see is a true champion. He gives him a hug. And Bryan Danielson takes the mic from Joe, and he says clearly, you know, from all of us here, I started before everybody else. Over 2 years. Before Phil, before Joe, before Punk, and before Joe, and you. I'm the oldest one here. I'm the one who started, and so you all right after me. All you've been my friends. And you. I know it was hard on you. I know I didn't show you respect. I know I showed you attitude. It's because I knew this day would come, and I was hoping it would be done in RH before I left. But it didn't happen. But now, on a platform of AEW, internationally and nationally known, and everyone could see what me, Punk, and Joe have always known would happen, you will be a champion. You are a champion, and you have hit your potential. And they close, and that is the end of this Booking the Wrestler AEW Edition. Please give me a comment below. Tell me if you liked this story. I have no idea if you liked it. It probably sucks. But have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.